to hear, once again, an application from New York City. They usually have one every year, and we get to hear about what they've done on pre-K. So come forward, please. We're hearing from Josh Wallach and Ursulina Ramirez.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. In 2014, this administration came in with a moral and educational imperative, and that was to ensure that all of our children were ready to succeed when they entered kindergarten. Sorry. At the core, we wanted to address educational inequalities earlier. We focused on pre-K because studies have shown that high-quality pre-K had long-term behavioral and academic outcomes. In our first few weeks in our office, we pulled together a working group comprised of internal and external stakeholders, and they were charged with developing a strategy and operational plan to make pre-K for all a reality in just 2 years. We had to work with a sense of urgency because, as we all know, you're only 4 once. So here we are today, and to give you a sense of scope, in 2013, 19,000 4-year-olds were enrolled in full-day pre-K. And 2 years later, we had tripled that number, with nearly 70,000 students and 4-year-olds in our pre-K program.
There were really 3 challenges for making the vision of pre-K for all a reality, and we think that they are applicable in some ways regardless of scale. The first and second you can summarize as build it and make sure they come. Making sure we had quality providers of pre-K throughout the city, and that kids representing the full diversity of New York City wound up attending pre-K. The backbone of meeting these challenges was creating a data system that enabled our people to make good, fast bets and collaborate between multiple city agencies to get the job done. We used that to call out to community-based organizations and schools throughout the city. We streamlined parts of our procurement process so we had time to visit sites personally and spend time there getting to know them. We helped our local schools and community-based groups bring new classrooms online quickly by creating an online teacher recruitment tool and by assisting them with construction and permitting. Truly an entire government effort. Then make sure they come. We brought city agencies together to construct a list of all families in New York City that had children that were 4 years old and loaded it into one campaign database. We set up an outreach team that we recruited from all of our neighborhoods speaking multiple languages to make hundreds of thousands of phone calls and hold dozens of events throughout New York City over the past several years to make sure that every family understood the benefits of pre-K and understood how to apply. And we set up a streamlined enrollment process where families could choose a set of programs in one stop, online, in person, or over the phone, and get matched automatically to their highest choice with an opening. Now over 85% of our families get one of their top 3 choices for a pre-K program. And we wound up in the end with classes that represent New York City geographically and by race and income. And the third challenge was really to build quality from the beginning as we were building access. The research is clear that only high-quality pre-K produces the outcomes we seek, and the mandate that we got was to build quality while we built access. And so we used, again, research and data to build a system for continuous improvement, to define, measure, and manage quality. We built a holistic picture of quality at each site using valid, reliable measures, plus additional teacher and family survey data, and we publish it online every year for every family to see as they choose their program. We then use that to vary the levels of support we provide from coaches and social workers. We see how programs respond to that support by the end of the year, and then vary the dosage of support again. And we use that to make the difficult decisions about whether a program should return and continue to be a pre-K for all program. And the result so far is that our programs are performing on average at levels that the highest performing pre-K programs in the country have shown at a similar year of implementation, even though we scaled faster than other programs had. We've learned a great deal as we've addressed these challenges, and we've shared our lessons learned and learned from other cities through a learning lab that we hosted in New York City earlier this school year. 12 districts came to join us and learn more. But we know that to achieve the original purpose of addressing educational inequality, we cannot stop with pre-K for all.
So as Josh has noted, we knew our work to address equity and excellence couldn't stop with just pre-K. So we recently announced that we would replicate the success of pre-K for all with 3K for all, with a hope of reaching children at a younger age. Additionally, we developed a continuum of research-based for all initiatives that progress with our students as they go through the pre-K to 12 continuum. These initiatives include universal literacy by 2nd grade, algebra for all, AP for all, as well as others. Each of these initiatives were developed with the same sense of urgency as Pre-K for All, with aggressive implementation plans and data tools to track their success, with the goal of making sure all of our students are ready for success in the 21st century. Thank you.
Well, that was terrific. I just want you to know that we were all impressed that you could get 70,000 kids done so quickly. That was really, really impressive. Do any of you have any questions? I did. How did you get it done so quickly? I mean, with such high quality.
Yeah.
That was really quite stunning.
And if I could add to that, Kathleen?
Sure.
If you could help, in answering it, help us think about how are those lessons transferable to our other jurisdictions that have this as a goal?
Yes. So I think one of the key lessons we learned is build on what's already working. And New York City, I think, as do many cities, have some infrastructure to provide quality early childhood education in their jurisdiction. Childcare programs, Head Start programs run by private groups, district school programs. And what we did initially is through the tools that we built, reach out to them and help them expand their capacity to serve kids, either converting from half-day programs to full-day programs, or adding classrooms to programs that were already achieving high quality. And I think that we made use of that infrastructure to do such a rapid expansion.
Okay, so that's good to think about, because so 70,000, for instance, my children are in a pre-K in Washington. I think we have 6,000. So 70,000 seems absurdly large, but maybe it's 70,000 off a much larger base.
Yeah, well, when we came in, there were 20,000 children that were in free full-day high-quality pre-K, but there were another 25,000 or so that were in half-day. And so quite a bit of what we did in the first year is help those programs expand. So they had to add classrooms to...
That makes it easier to do.
Yeah.
It makes it, got it.
So I think that's a lesson for, just to say, for other cities as well, which is expand on the partnerships you already have and help build quality and access to those programs, which then in turn builds excitement and energy behind expansion.
So one way it's doubling what you did. Yes, David.
So Kathleen mentioned Washington, D.C., which is generally considered the top of the heap in pre-K. They have universal pre-K for age 3 and 4. Very high spending. So you mentioned quality. Do you have any comparisons of quality between your program and Washington, D.C.'s?
So essentially where we are, and we compare using these national tools that are used for classroom observations, is we're at a similar point of where programs like Boston and Abbott and D.C. were at this phase of their implementation, so 3 years in. DC's a little bit older, so they've had a little bit more time to build quality, but we're seeing comparable quality levels and ones that are highly correlated with improved child outcomes over time. So those are the two ways we look at it.
Yes, Pete.
This seems in some ways to be a pre-K school choice program. It was interesting, one of the anomalies that was reported here is that around 56 or 57% of the schools that are part of this program are actually not public schools.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit about how those relationships were developed so quickly? It would be understandable if this was really being generated entirely out of the public system, that those relationships would already be existing. But how much of that relationship building and bringing them on board needed to happen?
The answer is we had a good start, but quite a bit of work, and it goes on. And I think you raise an interesting point in that we really did come to this with a spirit of sort of honoring the work that had already been done in many communities to provide quality early childhood education. And we wanted to show families and providers that we wanted to build on that and not replace it. And so we set out very intentionally to start first by asking those providers whether they wanted to expand their offerings, expand to full day, and expand the number of kids they served. And they knew right away that full day was the way to go, and they were just waiting for the opportunity to do that. Then we had to do the work of building the trust, and part of this was putting everybody on the same playing field for application and enrollment. Prior to our arrival, there were 2 separate admission systems, one for district schools and one for private community-based organizations. The district schools went first, and then the CBOs went. We brought them together onto one data platform so families could choose between all of them and list up to 12 choices, a mix of district schools and private organizations. And what we found is that about half the families put a district school first, and half the families put a CBO first. And that really helped to build the trust with the CBOs, because they saw we sort of walked the walk and put them on a level playing field with district schools.
And I would just like to add that some of these CBOs have been in communities for an extended period of time, and so it's really important for, at least for the families, having a sense of continuity, but just also making sure that they, can meet our standards of what high quality pre-K looks like. So really, it was a lot of engagement process with the CBO providers, and they've been fantastic along the way.
But as you said, you had Montessori schools as part of this, and others that are, from a methodology standpoint are fairly well established as well.
That's right. And so we also had to demonstrate and also continue to work on showing that we have high standards, and we hold programs accountable to those, but we also understand the diverse ways the programs can get there. And we train our instructional coaches and social workers who support those programs to be sensitive to that, and to learn about the approach, and to try to help support them do that approach better. And as long as they meet those standards, that's great.
Thanks.
So your write-up mentioned that 85% of the funds for this come from the state of New York.
Yes.
Was that something that happened automatically because there was already a state program, or did you have to get the legislature to appropriate a lot of money to do this?
I mean, as soon as we came in as an administration, as I said, we pulled together this working group that really developed kind of a holistic plan and implementation plan and our budgetary needs. And it was a lot of aggressive advocacy on the part of the city, but also parents and families who really helped us get the support that we needed from the state. But I think, if Josh.
Yeah, no, and I would say, and in the end, we wound up with the support of both sides of the state legislature and the governor, and that was critical. And they did put in an additional increment of $300 million that helped us get to full-day, free, high-quality pre-K for all. And that commitment has continued each year in the budget process as we've gone.
Great.
So when you started with CBO, which was not particularly good, let's just say, what techniques did you use to get them to be up to standard?
Yes.
Because it's hard, my experience is, it's hard to get people to change.
Yeah.
Anybody.
We've taken what the research shows is the most effective, we think the most effective approach, which is a combination of really high quality learning opportunities for teachers and leaders to come together. District schools and CBOs come together to learn together. And then individual coaches that go into programs and form relationships with the leaders and teachers there and talk to them about what needs to change. And it's really those one-on-one coaching relationships that begin to move the numbers on the tools that we use. And what we have to do as a system is be very smart about allocating that scarce time and expertise to the programs that need it most. And so we do a lot of work with data to send support where it's needed most and where it can have the greatest impact.
Okay.
One quick last question. You mentioned CBOs, private providers, and district schools. How about charter schools? Are they participating?
Yes, charter schools have participated. We have about 20 of them that are part of the Pre-K for All program, and we invite them to apply every year. We're eager to grow those partnerships, and families can elect to send their kids to Pre-K for All there.
Yes, Pete.
Yeah, it's noted that in New York City, the average cost per seat is $12,000,
yes,
which is significantly more than most of the major other school systems. Is there a part of what's happened here that because of those resources on a per seat basis that might not be transferable, or is that not enough of a factor to understand how this could be transferable?
Sorry, the question is whether that amount of money
has made it more possible to do this quick rollout and develop these relationships and have the outreach teams that you had in place and do the testing and the rest of that's part of this.
I would say the per student cost turns out to be comparable to systems like the Abbott districts in New Jersey and Boston, and to some extent DC, the high quality programs. I would also say that I think that their real estate costs in New York also bring up the per seat cost. And so there are ways of doing this in other jurisdictions where real estate is not quite at a premium with a lot of the supports and systems that we've built. And they're really smart people that are doing cost studies now to figure out which parts of the expenses are due to which factors and how to replicate the supports, which are really the key to quality and the key to the outcomes.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
That
you.
was
Thank you.
terrific to hear, and congratulations for all you and for all those kids and their families. Really wonderful.